Welcome back, everybody. As promised, this is Mike Kodavidas with Dan Minc from Rosenberg Minc, which is, as we saw, as we heard, a very seasoned, experienced law firm in New York, handling personal injury, from car accidents to truck accidents, and so on. In our last session, I thought was very interesting. Dan brought in his partner, Gary Silverstein, who was actually in the middle of a trial, and he gave us an insight into how to neutralize a witness and other insights into a very hardcore litigation trial. And that's a great segue to our next topic. And we saw this topic is really trending on Google. People are asking, if I get into a car accident, do I even need a personal injury attorney? I think our prior session speaks for itself that you absolutely do, in my opinion. But I want to hear from the attorney, from Dan Minc. Can you just call an insurance company and say, Mr. and Mrs. Insurance Company, I was injured. Can you please send me a check to my address? Does that work?
Well, Michael, I don't think that there's any risk that personal injury attorneys are going to go unneeded in our society, especially in the way we're going in New York State, because there's one reason. Nobody wants to compensate you, period. All right? There's no one out there, there's no insurance company, and everything is guided by insurance.
Right.
They're in the business of preserving their capital. They're in the business of making profits for their shareholders.
Exactly.
They're not in the business of empathy. That's for your family.
Right.
Okay? So you as an individual that's been injured, you're going up against a business person that's in the business of preserving capital.
Right. Not to pay. Business not to pay.
So you're not talking to a friend. You're not talking to anyone that's going to sympathize with you.
Right.
You're talking to a business and you're saying, hey, give me respect and compensate me. And they're going to be looking at it from their own perspective and how little would they have to pay you to get rid of you. That's the general atmosphere. So we're talking about insurance companies because 99% of property owners or car owners, if you're a car owner, it's mandatory that you have insurance in the state of New York. If you're a property owner, anyone that owns real estate without insurance, taking a huge risk, and normally people don't do it. So they're always turning over the claim to the insurance company. So here's the first problem. Insurance companies are always examining the ways not to pay you. They want to blame you. They want to claim you're not that injured. They're going to claim, that you're exaggerating. They want to claim that the medical treatment is unnecessary. They have a lot of reasons, or their insured person is going to not tell them the truth about how the accident happened.
Right.
And tell them it wasn't their fault. So make no mistake about it, you're in an adversarial scenario.
Right.
If it's a situation where you have to sue the city of New York, a municipality, there are so many pitfalls that make it virtually impossible to represent yourself. Virtually impossible.
Yeah, you and I had a whole session on that, right? Dan.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about statutes of limitations. You're talking about how to file and where to file the claim.
Right.
So most of your listeners, we're talking about New York City now, and any municipality in the state of New York, most of them, you have to file a claim within 90 days, and it has to be written, and it's called a notice of claim, and it must be filed at the right agency.
Right.
Okay, and you have to have proof of filing. My God, what individual, if you're injured, has the capability to be that mobile to understand it, and for what point? Then the city starts communicating with you. They give you no respect. You have to go for a 50H hearing. You're unrepresented. It's a long process. They are not going to call you up and settle the case.
Absolutely.
It's a process.
Yeah. And
So
also, Dan, isn't
slowly-
there also a process even to get your medical treatment, no fault forms? You also should get help from attorneys to fill it
Look,
out, right?
no fault forms. If you're involved in an automobile accident, New York State has something called no fault. No fault has to be filed within a certain amount of days, or you're not getting your benefits and you waive it.
Right.
Yeah, if you don't do that, no one will pay your medical bills because they'll be denied by your healthcare carrier.
Exactly.
These are all pitfalls that you fall into.
Yeah.
Because the law, frankly, is complex. It's not helpful. There are deadlines that you must meet. So you might be intelligent, you might be capable. Look, there's one court in New York where you do not need to be represented if you're an individual, and that's small claims court.
Okay.
But small claims court has a limit, and the limit might be $10,000, okay, in damages. I don't know exactly what it is, but it's approximately
Small. It's a small amount you can get.
If you are not an attorney, or even if you are an attorney, if it's yourself, you can have a lawyer, but no lawyer is going to represent you on a case worth $10,000 because they're going to charge you more
Sure.
than the case is worth. And number two, a lot of times these are night court things, and they're just unpleasant. So you can go in, and usually for $20, you can file a claim as an individual on a small case. You don't need a lawyer, but there are rules, and you'll find that you still need documents. Okay, but the clerk will tell you what those documents are normally, or the judge will, and it's very helpful to have that court. At least you have some recourse.
Right.
But in a case where you have an injury, a serious injury, it's very difficult. I don't want to use the word impossible. I want to use the word difficult, extremely difficult.
Right.
To get by without an attorney. For instance, let's say something fell off the roof of a building as you're passing by and it broke your arm. Okay. Well, the first thing you have to do is figure out who the owner is of that property. So it's an apartment building, or there are many apartment buildings or tenement buildings or small brownstones, or it's a store, right? Either one of those scenarios. Let's say it's a store, and upstairs there's apartments. The store's not responsible. You'll learn. They just leased the ground floor. It fell from the roof. It's not their roof. It's the landlord's roof. They're not going to tell you if you walk in the door, oh, I was just injured. I broke my arm. Something fell off the roof. Could you give me all the information, please, about who your landlord is?
Not happening.
They're going to go, not happening. First of all, it may be a clerk inside, goes, I don't know. It might be a store manager that goes, oh, legal claims? I'm really not sure. I'm not authorized to give that information.
Right.
Okay. So you wind up needing an investigator. So that's the first problem. Now you have to do it properly. So you find out, you look up the records if you have the capability, which most people don't, okay, that it's a corporation. Well, what does that do for you? You know, you have to find out how to properly alert a corporation, how to serve them, how to get them to respond, how to get to their insurance company. What if they don't respond? What's the next step? You know, are you going to make a motion to the court? Are you going to file a complaint and buy an index number? Why? Believe me, look, people always look at the simple cases in personal injury and go, oh, you made a fee. Like, I understand that. If you go to anyone and they do something pretty straightforward and they charge a fee, but 80% of the cases that we deal with are complicated, and you earn your fee. Okay, we work on a contingency. The reason that it's so effective is that we are your partner. So if I take on a case, that's my partner. I'm not getting paid unless that.
Yeah, your interests are aligned because you don't make any money. As a matter of fact, you're going to lose resources if you don't win because you spend money on your staff, on investigators, like you said, on on witnesses, expert witnesses. So you want to make sure you do your best to win a case or settle for maximum for your client.
I'm treating that client as if I was in a similar situation.
Right.
I'm thinking about the case. I'm thinking about how to win that case. What do I need to do?
Yeah.
Get my strategy, get my ducks lined up. There's work to be done.
Then, just to summarize, to answer this frequently asked question, do I need a personal injury attorney? Like you said, you don't absolutely need, but it's highly advisable. And you gave us a myriad of issues that one can face if you go pro se, if you go yourself against an insurance company. As you said, there are statutes and time limitations to consider that an attorney would know to make sure not to blow such a statute. There are motions you have to draft. You have to uncover evidence. And finally, as we saw in the prior session with your litigation partner, Gary Silverstein, when you go to court, you have to know how to properly cross-examine witnesses, dig up evidence to show how to neutralize them in court. So it's not worth it because your attorney, like Dan Minc, would only get paid if the case is settled or won. I think that's a good summary. Would you say, Dan?
I agree with you. Look,
Perfect.
It's the way the system works to get compensated.
Right.
It's how a good lawyer can take $100,000 claim and turn it into a $500,000 claim, or take a $50,000 claim and turn it into a $150,000 claim. That's the difference.
Yeah. And Dan, thank you so much, first of all, for answering this frequently asked question. We appreciate you educating our listeners and our viewers. And we just mentioned compensation, possible defendants. And that's another question people ask that I want to address in our next session. Whom can you sue? What are the possible defendants if you get into a car accident, if you are a passenger, if you're a driver, if you're a pedestrian? There could be more than one party, more than one pocket you can attack to get compensation. Dan, thank you so much. We appreciate your time. And of course, we have the phone number of Dan's firm, Rosenberg Minc, on the bottom of the screen. Please feel free to reach out. Consultation is free to get answers, to discuss possible representation. And we value your time. We're going to see you next time with more sessions on personal injury law in New York. Thank you, everybody. Good day.
Take care, Michael.
Take care.